We have a lot to talk about. October's reading month was,
how do you say, a doozy?
I read 11 books in the month of October. 12 if you count a book that I did as a reread, but we're not gonna count it for this video. We've got a 1-star read, we've got a 5-star read, and we're gonna talk about it. So let's get into it. I've said this before and I'll say it again, but if you have been sleeping on your Libby app,
wake up.
just trust me when I say you're gonna be saving yourself so much money if you get Hoopla or Libby through your library. 3 of the books that I read this month were through the Libby app, starting with The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell. This is a thriller, and it is actually also a sequel to The Family Upstairs, which I read a few years back. I'd like to preface this by saying that I actually really enjoy Lisa Jewell. There is another book that I read by her in October that I gave a 5-star read.
We're gonna get into that later.
Because we need to talk about The Family Remains. I went into it kind of skeptical already because I wasn't sure about a thriller sequel. How is that gonna go, right? How are we gonna keep talking about a situation that happened in book 1 with a thriller? Like, typically loose ends are pretty much all tied up, people go to jail, or it just didn't really seem like there was a reason to make a sequel. This book includes characters from book 1, but we also get the point of view of new people. So we got a new detective, we got a new girl, and are all these people intertwined and connected with the events of story 1? It's a whirlwind, kind of, but honestly, I feel like it dragged on. Nothing was terribly thrilling. It was just a lot of family drama and lies. I think I just was expecting something else because I really enjoyed book 1 and this creepy family that lived in this house. It was like essentially like a house of horrors, almost like a cult going on in this family, and child abuse and an inheritance, and a girl that was adopted, and 25 years later she receives this crazy inheritance and finds out about her history with this family and this house. And so now we're obviously fast forward in this book to present day. So as each of these characters get their own chapter, they each have their own little mystery and how they're all intertwined, like I said, with each other. But the stories were not that thrilling, they weren't that mysterious, and they were kind of convoluted. I think sometimes books don't need to have every question answered in order to be a good book. And this book was a sequel in order to answer questions from book 1 that we didn't need answered, if that makes sense. Because the answers to these questions weren't that great. I don't know if they were fully fleshed out, and I think also it makes our characters from book 1 not look that great either. Next book I listened to was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I actually also have the physical copy of this book, but when I saw it on my Libby app, I just wanted to listen to it to get through it quicker. The narrator was amazing. He did a really good job portraying Coriolanus, President Snow. If you don't know, this is a Hunger Games prequel. We are in the perspective of Snow. Before he becomes a president, he's a teenager, and he is a mentor of the 10th annual Hunger Games. They introduce mentors into the arena, and so he is a mentor to a girl from District 12. This is not a villain origin story. This is a complex tale of a man who truly believes with his whole heart and soul certain things. Could he have been different? Could he have been potentially a better person than we saw in the original Hunger Games series? That is up for debate. I think it was pretty well done. I enjoyed the little twists that they added in here, as well as the links to the future Hunger Games story and how we get Katniss and some of the things that we remember seeing from the books and the movies. I give this a 4-star rating. I think it could have been a little more fleshed out at the end. There was a scene that I wish was not really left so much open to interpretation. I would have liked to get a little more of an expansion on a character and their ending, but we didn't get that. It is left open, and I wish it wasn't, but that's just my personal opinion. Sometimes we like things left open to the imagination, and sometimes we just like answers. And in this case, I did want a specific answer to a question I had, but that's okay. Nevertheless, I do recommend that you read it if you're a fan of the Hunger Games and if you're looking forward to the movie coming out this month. Last book that I listened to on Libby was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and this, guys, was a 5-star read for me. When I say this book was done so well, I mean it in my heart and soul. This is a psychological thriller where a podcaster becomes the subject of her own true crime podcast. It was so good. We go back and forth in perspectives between our main girl who owns this podcast and the girl she's interviewing. We go in past and present timelines. We get dual POV. It is so chilling. It is so mind-bending. Every single little Easter egg makes sense, leading up to the crazy plot twist and the climactic ending. It was everything I was looking for in a psychological thriller. Lisa Jewell really knows how to do a good job in these situations and make them make sense. Because we already know a psychological thriller is pretty crazy, far-fetched. How would this ever happen? You know? But obviously she makes them happen, and she makes them work really well for her stories. And the narrator also, if you're interested in listening to this, did a fantastic job. It was so well done. We get questions like, is our narrator reliable? Who are we supposed to root for? Who is right? Who is wrong? If you have any more Lisa Jewell recommendations, let me know, because I'm not always in the mood for a thriller, but when I am, I want it to be something exactly like this. Next, I want to talk about 2 books that I did a reading vlog for in my villain era. So go ahead and watch that if you haven't already, because I thought it was pretty good. But I read 2 actually very popular books on BookTok that kind of give villain era vibes. One was a Kindle Unlimited read, and then one I had the physical copy of. The one that I read on Kindle Unlimited was How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly, and that was something. For starters, I just want to mention that I really don't like the cover of this book. I had no idea what this book was about, and the cover helped me 0% in understanding what the book was about. This is a fantasy book, but it starts out in the modern world. We've got like this geeky biologist girl who is super into the study of like moths, like a specific moth, and she's in this like rinky-dink town trying to find this specific moth to like understand their pattern, the behavior and stuff. And unbeknownst to her, she falls through a portal and lands on the lap of this like
super evil, like unseelie fae prince guy.
Quickly becomes a captive trope, enemies to lovers trope, naive girl trope, which normally doesn't bother me, but it was dark. The unseelie prince is like definitely not a good guy. We don't understand too much of the realm that we're in or where he lives. We just know that he's like such a bad guy. You don't want to mess with him. We have a couple of like torture scenes, I guess, where he's trying to get information from her because he believes that she's a spy. And so we have that whole thing going on. We have trials kind of similar to Under the Mountain in ACOTAR. What I enjoyed from this book was the fun tropiness, right? Like, it's entertaining, it's a good time. There were some moments where it was a little cheeky and I giggled or whatever.
Cute.
Most of the time for me, I feel like our main girl was naive to the point of like annoying, and to the point where I almost found her to be an unreliable narrator, which I don't normally feel with characters, or especially our main girls. So I did feel that with her. And then the plot twist at the end made no sense. If you've read this book and you liked it, please explain to me how it made sense for what happened to happen, because now it's going to go into book 2. This is a part of a series, and I don't actually think I'm going to read book 2. I was not interested at all in how things progressed and the ending. I think I'm just over the trope that we get at the end of the book. Yeah, I know that's super vague and I don't go into much detail, but I think if you are into fantasy romances and you love all of those tropes, you can read it. If you like the Unseelie Court type of fae people, you may also enjoy it. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Didn't really like it, honestly. It was fine. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars, but it didn't wow me. Yeah. But what did wow me was Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. This was also in that same vlog. This is a 5-star read for me. I go into a lot of detail on both books in that vlog, by the way, if you want like a more like rundown, detailed summary of my thoughts on the book, as well as the premise and what these books are really about. We got an assistant to the villain. We got a really cute, grumpy sunshine type of dynamic going here. It is so cute. It is funny. I found myself laughing a lot of times. I found myself blushing and giggling. I love the slow burn and the banter. I love cozy fantasies, and this I think definitely fits that category. The stakes are technically higher, but to the point where it's almost laughable, not necessarily like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. It's very okay, they're high for you, but for me as a reader, it's just like entertaining and funny, and I loved every second of this. I cannot wait. I'm so happy. I cannot wait for book 2. I'm so happy this ended up being part of a series. And I know some people have read this book and have said that they actually didn't like it, that it was not what they thought it was going to be when you see the title, Assistant to the Villain. But to me, it was perfect. I think it hit all the marks that I was looking for. And there's no spice, okay? So it's just got a little, it does have a romantic subplot. Very cute. I think this is perfect for any age reader, and you don't always need spice in a fantasy romance. Okay, I'm just saying, I think this could do without it. It didn't need it. It still was top tier reading for me, and I'm so excited that I got the edition with the sprayed edges because it's just fun. Now we're gonna go to a 1-star read that I'm not gonna talk about it too much just because I don't want to bash the book. I don't want to bash the author. It just was not my cup of tea. I thought it was going to be something that it wasn't, so that's probably why I was really disappointed in this book. But that is going to be If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I know a lot of you really enjoyed this book. A lot of people have read this book. It's dark academia. It's like one of those books you want to read for fall. We have a Shakespearean Academy. It just was flawed in a lot of ways for me. And personally, I just didn't like the direction they took the book. I really didn't. And that's pretty much it. I don't want to go into much detail other than that. Everyone has their tastes and preferences, and for me, it just wasn't that. But I don't want to bash it. We're gonna move on to happier thoughts because I found another book series on Kindle Unlimited that I thought was very entertaining, and I really enjoyed it. And it was another clean romance. So we have closed door romance scenes or fade to black, and that is the Lochlann Treaty by Robin D. Mayle. I actually read another series from her called The Lochlann Feuds, also on Kindle Unlimited, and I think it's also a 4-book series. I really loved that series. I actually want to get my hands on the physical copies. This is in the same universe, I believe. However, completely different characters. And you don't see characters from one series into the next. You don't, like, that's not... Same universe, I think, just completely different characters and storylines, but I really liked it. It gives that Outlander vibes, like the TV show, has a lot of Scottish elements. You have the dialogue where they sound like Idina Ken and all those cute, I don't know, I like that. I like the Gaelic kind of talk. You have a girl whose husband on her wedding day gets kidnapped, and she decides to go on her own and find him. And she uses the captain of the guard to help. She goes with the captain of the guard to try and find her fiance, but the captain of the guard is actually the prince's brother. So she is now out on the roads with her fiance's brother looking for her fiance, and she's like disguised as a girl, not being the princess, right? So we got a lot of fun stuff going on. We got kind of enemies to lovers. We have one bedroom trope, like a one bed at the inn kind of thing. A lot of other fun little tropes. Very cute. It was entertaining. I gave each book in the series a 3-star rating, but I think overall it's like a 4-star series. I think it just lacked a little bit of extra detail, world building, depth to the characters and the world and the politics, but overall it was still very entertaining. Each book kind of left off at a nice cliffhanger to segue you into the next book in the series. So I thought it was fine. I thought it was really cute. And if you're interested in romance, if you're interested in fantasy, but you don't want spice, this is a great author to look up and a great fantasy series to read because of all the reasons I mentioned. There is talk of fae in this book, but we don't really understand it. So I'm thinking there's going to be, if she hasn't already written other books to dive into the fae in this world, she may in the future. So who knows? But yeah, very good Lochlann Treaty. And now the time has come, the star of the show, piece of my heart, if you will, the reason why I have made video after video after video in the last couple of weeks with entire plot summaries, because my most anticipated read of the year finally came out in October and I was able to read it, and I actually got the special edition copy, so I can't wait to show you guys. It is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the Owl Crate edition, but I also have the Barnes & Noble. Absolutely beautiful. This is book 3 in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I just have to show you. We have illustrated designs for the reversible dust jacket. So pretty. As well as this really, really pretty embossed naked hardback. And it says, "Once upon a time, a girl stole the heart of a prince that had sworn to never love." This is absolutely my favorite series of all time. And while I do think that some little plot holes were there in this book, and I still have some questions that I want answered, I need answered, I think that overall it was a very good book. It was a good ending to the series. And I gave book 3 a 4-star rating. Book 2 was 5 stars. And book 1 also, I think I would give a 4 or 5 stars. I absolutely love this series. Evangeline and Jax are just peak star-crossed lovers, enemies to lovers, perfection in my opinion.
I will accept no criticism on this series.
But I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. This is perfection. This is fantasy romance. This is what it's all about. I could base an entire YouTube channel just on Evangeline and Jax. I stand by that, by the way. We got a girl looking for true love and taking up arms and finding help with a man of fate who hates love, and they team up, they gang up, and they try to get her to fall in love with somebody, and it becomes a whole thing. And one after another, we got curses, we got princes, we got foxes, we got apples, we got banter like you wouldn't believe. Okay? It's so good. Love it. Recommend it. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this book, honestly. If you can't feel how I feel through the screen, I don't know what to tell you. Those are the 11 books that I read in the month of October. Wait. Hold on, because I ended up not posting my October books, and we're already at the end of November. So we're gonna clash October, November in this video. So reheat your coffee because I've got more books to talk. November was not a really good reading month for me. I only completed 4 books in the month of November. I've got a ton that I'm halfway through or almost finished with, but I didn't want to mention them here because I feel like that would be lying. But to be honest, the first 2 books I read in the month of November, they put me in a slump so badly. And I think you're going to be surprised on the books that I'm going to mention right now because
a lot of you guys really like this book, and I can't relate.
First book we're going to talk about is The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a sequel companion novel series of the Inheritance Games trilogy, and I read that series earlier in the year it was okay. I think I give the series overall like a 3-star rating. It was fine. It was enjoyable. It was cute. Very middle grade or maybe early high school level. So it had elements I really enjoyed, like the puzzles and the games and the cute little love triangle. But the writing obviously is a little more mature, but I still enjoyed it overall for what it was. So that's why I gave it a 3-star rating. And I also gave 3 stars to this book, which is The Brothers Hawthorne. We basically only get the POV of the boys, specifically Jameson and Grayson Hawthorne, kind of where they left off at the end of the series, with their own personal relationships with themselves, with their family members, with Avery, and they learn more about their fathers who weren't really present in their lives, and they kind of learn more about their history and things like that. So, and other family members, all of that. So it's interesting, it's fun, we get the same type of games, mysterious elements added in there of family relatives and inheritances, all of that. It's cute. It is. I read it, it was fine. I think if you are a younger audience, I would definitely recommend this book series. It's very fast-paced, the chapters are short, the romances are very cute, and it's a good time. It's cute. There's nothing more I can say other than it's cute. And I hope you understand what I mean when I say that. Once I finished that book, Libby, I want to put this as nicely as I can, because I made a reading vlog on the first book and I found it to be entertaining. I think I gave it a very lenient 4 stars, but I could have knocked it down if I wanted to. I read this book. It was 22 hours long, the audiobook, so it took me forever to get through. Honestly, because I just kept stopping, I was not paying attention, I had to keep going back, trying to just dive in again. I didn't like the narrator, the storyline was annoying, I prefer the side characters more, and it was a doozy to get through. I finally got through it. I wasn't impressed. I don't know if I'm going to complete this series. If you haven't figured it out yet, I am talking about Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. And I'm really hoping I don't get canceled for my review on this. Again, this is just my opinion. If you loved this book, if you loved this series, I love that for you. I love that you found enjoyment in this fantasy series, in dragons, and all of the stuff that comes with this series, whether it's enemies to lovers, if it's politics, if it's war, if it's the dragons, if it's friendship and found family, all of that. I love that for you. But for me personally, I could not get by this book. Without getting into details and giving spoilers on this book in particular, the series as a whole encompasses a girl named Violet Sorrengail, and she is a daughter of a general who basically runs this war college for dragon riders. There's scribes, scholars, things like that. Violet is a very intelligent girl, and she has some sort of disability. We don't really get a full disclosure on what it is, but she has some problem with like her joints and stuff. Anyway, she grows up knowing she wants to be a scribe, a scholar, just be very like learned and smart and all of this. And she's told that she needs to become a dragon rider. So book 1 is basically taking you through her time at the academy, transitioning into a dragon rider, all of that, meeting her dragons, blah, blah, blah. In the midst of that, we have romances, allegiances, conspiracy theories, found family, all of this. And like I said earlier, book 1 was entertaining. I found the writing to be quite cringy. The modern terminologies and slang kind of took me out of the scope of a fantasy world into 2023 modern age talk. And that's not what I'm looking for in a fantasy book. I really just look for escapism. And I do prefer when a book is able to just keep me in that world and not remind me of real world things. This book does that to the point where I just couldn't focus. I can't comprehend what I'm reading, and it bothered me a lot. That's probably one of the biggest issues I have with this book series. I think if Rebecca Yarros could have written it and really just stayed true to the fantasy world, make it sound more old-timey, I could have enjoyed it more and probably given this a higher rating and just ignored everything else I didn't like about this book. But because of just the writing style, I just can't get behind it. Another thing I didn't really enjoy about this book series is our main character, Violet. I find her to be quite annoying. While I can get behind her disability and the trials that she faces and all of the stuff she's able to overcome in order to kind of catch up with her classmates and stuff. I do love that. I love her relationship with the dragons, but I find her reasoning for being angry in certain situations and for acting a certain way in certain situations are very immature and not reflective of a woman who is supposed to be this leader in this college. She speaks and acts like she's 15 instead of a 20-something-year-old woman being trained for war. In those instances, I put myself in the shoes of the people that she is around, and I personally could never follow somebody like that. I could not get behind someone like that. I couldn't be her friend. I couldn't listen to her if she tells me to do anything. It would not go down because she's quick to anger, quick to speak and lash out at others. And whether it's with friends or loved ones, nope, I don't like her. Do I still love Xaden? Absolutely. He is like ride or die for me. If I was to continue this series, it would be solely because of him and the dragons that are in this series. They're just so fun to listen to. But unfortunately, Violet just is not a character I root for. She's not someone I can get behind. And she annoys me. And for such a large book, for a 22-hour long audiobook, for however long, how many pages this book is, like for the physical copy, I don't know if I can do that a third time, guys. I just don't know if my heart and my brain and my soul can handle it. If you don't agree, I totally get it. There's so much about this book I did enjoy. The battle scenes obviously are very fun. There are some plot holes and things that I still don't understand regarding certain elements of the war that's going on and how they're planning things out, why they keep things from certain people. I don't understand all of the tactics that they use. Maybe we'll learn more as the series progresses, but for right now, I'm still left quite confused. It could just be my own fault because I'm just having a hard time comprehending what I'm reading because of the writing style. It could just be a me problem. User error, if you will. But regardless, I would love to know your thoughts. If you like this book, tell me why you love it. I want to know. But let's go ahead and switch gears to something I absolutely love and give a 5-star rating to. I'm so happy. I love this author so much. And I read the last few books of the month of November. I read 2 of her books. And this author is Emily Henry. I read Happy Place and Book Lovers. Happy Place, I'm so happy to say I gave a 5-star rating to. Everything from the writing, the setting, the friendships, the family dynamics, the love, and the loss. I love it so much. She's able to elicit so many strong emotions out of me to the point where, without fail, when I read an Emily Henry book, I'm going to laugh, cry, gasp, be angry. I told my husband this the other day. I want to be Emily Henry when I grow up. If I ever get to writing a book, she's my inspiration. Hands down. There's so much to break down with our characters that I love. And by the time we get to the end of these books, we understand them. They understand themselves so much better. And I just feel like it's a testament to femininity, if you will. I love it. I love how she creates her female characters. They start out really, really strong and hard-headed and just focused on themselves and kind of almost selfish in a way, but they convince themselves they're being selfless. And it's so good. Happy Place takes place in Maine. We have a group of friends that met in college, and a couple of the members of this friend group are getting married, so they decide to get the band back together one last time in this cottage in Maine. They have a great time for like a whole week. Our main girl, Harriet, used to date one of their friends named Wynn, and they have not told anyone that they broke off their engagement. So while they're here and staying at this cottage for a week with their friends, they're pretending to still be together. And it's bringing back a ton of emotions, conflicts, slow burn, amazing conversations. The ending was so good. I think it really just encourages communication more than anything in all of her books, and how important it is to speak your thoughts, your feelings, everything you're going through, and to not be afraid to share those emotions with the people you love most. instead of trying to protect them from your emotions. Does that make sense? Then I read immediately after this one, I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I gave that one a 4-star rating. This one was super cute. It takes place in a small town. We have 2 sisters from New York, and they go for like 3 weeks or a month into the small town near Asheville, North Carolina, to kind of just get away from the city. And it was so cute. They have like a list of things they're trying to do and accomplish in this small town. Our main girl is like a literary agent, and while she's in this town, she meets one of her like rivals in the literary agency world. His name is Charlie, and he lives in this small town. He's from here, and so he's visiting his family, and things happen. I love the references to books. We have so many references to Jane Austen that I loved, and it's like books within books within books, all encapsulated in one storyline. Beautiful. I love, again, Emily Henry knows how to write good books. She knows how to write very nuanced characters, and the tropes in here are kind of enemies to lovers, slow burn, star-crossed lovers, right person, wrong time, sisterly love, so many things. We deal with grief and loss. The only reason why I gave it 4 stars and not 5, I think our main character was just a little too headstrong for me, and I resonate more with her sister Libby, who's much more in tune with her emotions, very, very feminine, very soft. And again, I resonate with characters that are more like that personally, because that's how I am. So I kind of get put off with characters like our main girl, Nora. She's just a little too in her own head. And again, she does it to protect people, but also it comes at a cost. So I love the progression of her character development and how the story ended. It was beautiful. It's lovely. If you're looking for standalone romances that really just push and tug at your heartstrings, I can't recommend her writing enough. But that's it. Those are the books I read in November. It was just 4 books. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed all of these books, or if you didn't, let me know what your favorites were. What was something that stood out to you in October and November? What were your reads? Let me know. I'm so excited to talk about them with you. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I've got more videos here in case you're interested. But until next time, I will catch you in my next video. Love you guys so much. Mwah. Bye.